Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Moti Veda Vibhagine Yo Mabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Tava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Welcome. Our Panchadasi, and we have here the so as we can see on the page 424, Lynn has found out, I mean, the thing about avrata or anavrata in the transcription was confusing. And then she realized that there was a mistake on the transcription because she went to the audios, I mean, by some work she did. She had to look for the audio to listen to it, and then she understood the transcription was wrong in a few places, page 424, 425, and 426. So basically, all the 3 pages, the transcription was wrong. So just imagine if in every page there is a wrong transcription, that would make things difficult for us. But I don't think so. It's just a kind of pronunciation and spelling of avrata and avrata. So you remember, Claudio, so we were talking about that, and then it was not making sense when it was referring to the Kutastha. And then it was presenting it as well as something that was uncovered Kutastha. Yeah? And then I was trying to interpret as that the Kutastha is uncovered because it is self-revealing, self-shining, self-luminous. And then I was remembering the expression of hidden or covered in open sight. And how you say open sight?
In plain sight.
In plain sight. So, but no, there was a mistake in the transcription. And it was meaning to say that it was anavrata. Technical word for this post, anavrata samanya should read technical word for this, anavrata samanya amsa and avrata vishesha amsa. Anyhow, there is a small mistake here and there on several pages. Every page seems to have one in regards to the spelling or the transcription in between avrata and anavrata. It's only about those 2 words, right, Lynn? Or you did detect some other mistakes? Okay. So we're gonna carry on. We're gonna go to the verse 35. We begin today on the verse 35. As the blue exterior and the triangular form of the mother of pearl are lost to the vision, so the non-tactility and blissness of Kutastha are obscured by superimposition. So the Kutastha is apparently obscured or covered by superimposition, but there is something in there. But we very, very soon, quickly, rapidly, we superimpose the ahamkara on the Kutastha, as we know. Why? Because we don't see, we don't perceive clearly the Kutastha. And we much less, we don't recognize the blissness, the fullness of this essential nature of the ahamkara, which is Kutastha, because it cannot be reached by the five senses, not by the touch, not by the smell, by the sight, and so on. We miss the substance, which is free of attributes and qualities of the Kutastha, which is the source of bliss. And then superimposition becomes unavoidable, because the aham immediately wants to find a definition of itself. It is the most intuitive thing. Everything that says aham. I mean, my chicken, they did not learn to say aham, but I'm sure if they would have learned to say aham, immediately they were going to look for some teaching that could help them to define themselves, you know? So that would have been fun to have some satsangs explaining their Mithya nature as chickens, you know, and so on. But on this verse, there is the introduction of the shell, the mother of pearl, from the exterior side and the interior side. So as we see here in the unfoldment of this verse 35, it's not this the fact that the shell has two sides did not serve the purpose of presenting some teaching as an analogy, you know, but immediately I was expecting, and I think I anticipate a little bit of that last class, but the dark exterior triangle, we miss it absolutely. We only see it in our mental ability, with some sattva guna, but rajas and tamas, we live in a kind of twilight zone. So we have no chance to see even the general aspect of something there. We don't even see the isness if it is upside down. But we see something when it is open and to reflect the sun, and then yet we don't quite understand. The same way we don't quite understand the rope as a rope. And then what we do, we superimpose. So one condition is kind of total ignorance, which is related to the deep sleep state. In total ignorance, we are safe. So the traveler passing by in the middle of the night, there was full darkness, meaning to say there was no sattva, the light that illumines and reveals. He passed by and then he's safe. You know, he's not going to project the snake on the rope. And even if it's a rope, he's going to drink his water and carry on. He's not going to experience anxiety or fear. So here, the same way, the exterior aspect, it's similar to the state, could be an analogy to the state of deep sleep, in which there is total ignorance, but then in a certain state, which is the state of the Vishwa, the waking state, and then we fall for superimpositions all over the place, projections, because we don't have enough sattva to see things very clearly. So we try to develop, cultivate, and develop more sattva for the sake of understanding the teachings of the Upanishads. But it does not mean that we can be a super sattva man or super sattva woman, you know, because we don't need that. And we are designed by nature with rajas and tamas constituting our subtle body, producing an ahamkara that somehow is under the influence of ignorance, such as tamas, the covering, and rajas, the projecting. It conceals, and then we make our projection. Life is all the time about concealing and project, superimposition, and then we have to reject. We superimpose and then we deny the superimposition. That way we keep learning and growing, because we superimpose and then, oh no, this was not really what I thought. So now I know better, and life is all about that, until we start looking for the fundamental essential nature of the self. Once we hear the good advertisement that one's nature is limitless and free, and the source, the true source of security and bliss. And then we start looking for that. But the old habits, they die hard. So we keep superimpose the ego, the ahamkara, on the self. No? Superimposition of mithya on satya is a problem because we are taking to satya our limitations of mithya, the limitations of the ahamkara. So that to say that the verse 35 does not make much reference in the exposition of Swamiji of this blue exterior dark that does not shine, and the mother pair are lost to the vision, so we don't see it. But once it's on the other side, it's seen. So, but here the focus is like when it's upside down, we don't see anything. Okay, so this inability to see anything is really tamoguna. That's why I associate with the deep sleep. You understand? It's tamoguna. You don't see anything and you are safe, because as we know and as we say, full ignorance is bliss. Full knowledge is bliss as well. Self-knowledge is bliss, and full self-ignorance is bliss. But in between is the problem. Once we have some sattva working for us, we want to find the self. So in this case, the vision is lost. And the same thing, the knowledge of our Kutastha nature are lost as well, blocked, concealed. And here it's interesting, it says it's concealed, obscured by superimposition. So what is obscuring our true vision of our limitless, blissful Kutastha nature? What is the cause of superimposition? It's not that it is obscured by superimposition, but it's obscured by the concealing power of Maya and the projecting power of Maya. You understand? So we only superimpose because we can't see things for what they are. Do you agree with me? But of course, the superimposition throws a second layer of ignorance. Now, we have no doubt about that. We can observe a child before he develops a sense that he is the body-mind. So he is experiencing ignorance in respect to the aham. And then once he's fed with notions that he is the body-mind aham, and then what happens? He's going to develop a self-image. He is going to develop the ego, the ahamkara. And then ignorance becomes really solid. People, when it comes to Vedanta, when they bring a lot of knowledge, spiritual knowledge, is double problems. One problem is to remove those ignorant notions, spiritual notions, Likewise, the child, when he's fresh and innocent, he may be able, and I heard that from James Watt sometimes, that when people are young, sometimes they are so empty that they understand more easily that they are the limitless Kutastha. But, when the knowledge, when the ego, the ahamkara, the ignorance is fully crystallized, is a little bit more difficult. So the superimposition definitely is going to crystallize the ignorance. There is underneath, there is the concealing power, and then the superimposition comes as a second layer, and then we are in deep trouble. Let's see what the Swamiji says here, offers us. In the previous verse, Vidyaranya discussed anavrita, samanya, amsa, uncovered general part, both in the example of the shell and in the example of the rope as well. Example in both in the example and in the shellhood and Brahmahood. Okay, so from the Kutastha Jiva analysis, and then in analogy, we look into the shell or the rope. So everything we need to use the analogy, and then we need to look what the analogy offers us is a base on which we can reason and understand our human experience, in which way we are concealed to our nature, and we project our ahamkara nature. So in the example, navrata samanya amsa, which is the uncovered general aspect, or general part. Now, a general part is there. We know there is something, there is a isness there, but we don't know. No, uncovered. It's clearly available. Uncovered general part. Okay. Why? What is generally uncovered in the shell? The shining aspect is uncovered, but when the shell is upside down, it's not even there, because the ignorance would be similar to the ignorance of total tamas, deep sleep state. You follow? So, but when the shell is up, there is uncovered general knowledge there. Oh, there is something there. The question is, I don't know if it is the rope or the snake. I find the rope and snake a better example. But going back to the shell, so there is something in there, and it's so easily taken to be a rupee, to be silver, you understand? Because it shines as silver. In the case of the rope and snake, so Maya does not deceive us as easily, In the case of the silver, the mother of pearl, and the sameness of silver, we are more easily deceived. So, but both examples are appropriate. They're okay here. So we have this uncovered general aspect of something is here. While in the original Samanya Amsa, it is selfness and emness. So the original thing is just consciousness. It's only Sat, the Sat aspect of Brahman. The emness, the isness, there is a isness, okay? The general thing is the original thing, okay? But what you see, we don't understand. Ignorant, self-ignorant people who do not have contact with the Pancha, does not know that there is the original Samanya Amsa, and there is an uncovered, uncovered Samanya Amsa, okay? So uncovered is the isness, because we get a sense there is something there. But that isness is not something vague and abstract. That isness is the original selfness of Brahman, is the original Samanya Amsa, is the foundational ground of being, of conscious existence, okay? So we know now that there is the original, which is the foundation that Swamiji puts it in terms of foundational support, the foundation background, foundational support, foundational ground. So there is original Sat, original isness there, but we take it to be vague and abstract. So what does that say? So many people in the spiritual world, see that there is something behind the mind and the intellect, but they find it vague and abstract. And Vedanta say there is nothing vague, abstract, exoteric, or mystical about the self. There is nothing. It's your original, fundamental, essential nature. You understand? It's consciousness in its purest, unmanifest condition, which is the chit aspect of Brahman. The original chit is there, but we take it to be something vague and abstract. No, it is the selfness and the I amness, the chit aspect of Brahman. This we saw in the verse 34. In this verse 35, Vidyaranya will discuss Navrata Vishesha Amsa, the uncovered specific, particular Namarupa part. The one part is the isness, the other part is Namarupa. So every object in the universe, in the gross and in the subtle world, every object in the world is a namarupa. It is a manifest physical namarupa, which is a mental, emotional namarupa, because every object is defined by its namarupa, now being experienced directly or being recollected in our memories, in our impressions. So he will discuss the uncovered specific parts in the example, and the original general part. The shellness or the shellwood is the specific nature of the shell.
Arlindo?
Yes? Am I cutting?
This is one case where the transcription was wrong. So it's avrita vishesha amsha, not anavrita vishesha amsha.
Okay, here Vedorani will discuss avrita vishesha. Okay, so that way I don't need to invent myself. Vedorani will discuss avrita vishesha amsa, okay, which is the covered part of the rope, okay? So it's covered, the rope is covered, okay? The specific aspect of that namarupa is covered. Is that right? In the example, and the original samanya amsa. So the original and the fact that the robe is not seen as a robe, it's covered. So we have the avrita vishesha amsa, and the original general amsa. The original general amsa, we know it is chit, it is Brahman, it is the isness of everything, the existence of everything. The shellness, the specific nature of the shell is covered in the case of this example. In the shell example, the shellness is covered. And what is shellness? Every shell has a unique nature. So shell here is, in analogy, is the foundational ground on which we can superimpose the silver. Every shell has a unique nature. On one, and then now he's going to say every shell has a unique nature. On the front side, it will have a shining surface, a reflecting surface. On the front side, it's going to be round and dark, and it's not going to shine anything. And that's why we commit the mistake of a coin. On the front side is round and it's shine, and that's why we commit a mistake. On the exterior side, it will not be round and shine. So also, it's not shine and it's dark or black color. This is the unique feature of the shell. So shell feature that gives shellness or appearance silverness. Now, we have two aspects to the shell. Once the shell is seen, it's to present these analogies different from what I was saying before. So there is this feature, this aspect, this nature of the shell. It presents from the exterior, it presents an impression of shellness. But from the inside, when the light is reflecting, it presents itself as apparent silver. So our apparent silverness to the shell is covered. Because the shell is upside down. Okay, if it's upside down, we don't see the shell appearing as silver. So we see the shell appearing as shell, okay? We miss the shell when it's upside down. What the face is round and shining part. The sun reflects what the face is round and shining part. It's a little bit lousy, this translation, this transcription. We miss the shell. What we face is round and shining part. the sun reflects upon the round, and there is reflection, and we mistake it for silver. Real shellness is covered, and in the case of the shell silver example, Okay, so I guess he's saying that when the shell is upside down, and we see the shell for what it is, and it's a fact. Now I understand better why he brought the example of the two sides of the shell. When it's upside down, we see the shell for what it is. And once it turns up, and then we see the silver on the shell. And then he takes this example. We can see clearly the shellness as it is when it's upside down, but then when it's shining, because of its shining surface, we may confuse silverness to the shellness. This is the example showing the two sides of the shell. Real shellness is covered in the case of the silver reflection, apparent silver. In the same way, now he goes back to the Kutastha, to our human experience. In the same way, in the case of Kutastha Atma, also the Kutastha nature is covered. So now we have the Kutastha, we have reflected consciousness, okay? And the real nature, which is original nature, is covered somehow, because this aham immediately attaches itself to its attributes, its namarupas, its characteristics. In the case of the Kutastha self, also, as well, the Kutastha nature is covered. Kutasthahood is covered. The nature of Kutastha is changeless, asangatva. It's free of association, attachment, relations. And it is full, whole, and complete, anandatva, by nature. So this is our Kutastha nature. So Kutastha is of Svarupa Ananda nature, Svarupa nature, bliss nature, and relationless, attachless, Svarupa nature, nature as well. So free of association, free of interaction, free of attachments. It's not involved in anything. So it is Ananda as well. The very fact we happen to introduce our Parivara. So he's trying to say the very fact that anytime when they ask, who are you? And then Cloud immediately introduce himself as its Parivara, the covering. No, I am so and so. Cloud is my name, and this is my profession. I'm tall this much, I have so much kilograms and pounds, and I teach this, I teach that, and so on. The very fact that very, very willingly we introduce our covering aspect indicates that we are not a Sangha. So we fall for this, we present ourselves as something that is Sangha. Sangha is something that is interrelated, it is in connection, is in association. Sangha is association with Sat, with the truth, with reality. So, but we don't take ourselves to be Sangha. No. Sangha. Here say you are not a Sangha. We are not a Sangha. So in other words, we are Sangha. We are attached to people, place, and other things. Okay? Are we on the same page? I'm doing okay, Lynn? Lynn is here to correct me. So far, so good. The fact that we say aham isam mana, I am. No, I am my name, my form, and it's the I in mind that is there within us, and I, and the others, by which, with which I associate, and I somehow come up with an identity of Jiva nature. So the fact that we say I and mine and I belong to them, they belong to me, the greatest problem is we have taken Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness, as ourselves. And once we take the reflected consciousness, Chidabhasas, the Asanga nature will become Sangha, Satsanga, attached. So what our nature, which is free of attachments, free of association, we are of the nature of associationless. Why Scripture says that we don't associate with anything? Because our nature, which is the only reality, is one without a second. So our nature as Satchit is Ananda, meaning to say, is the only game, the only principle, the only part there is as real. So if there is only consciousness, and then how consciousness is going to associate with something else, if some consciousness is one without a second. The fact that consciousness is one without a second makes consciousness limitless. Why? Because there is nowhere by which, somewhere, a border on where I and consciousness and then something else begins. No, I'm just all pervasive as consciousness. So if there is only me, I cannot interact with anybody. So this may be scary to some people. Say, oh no, I don't like to be a lonely consciousness, Brahman, having no associations. I appreciate my associations. I have deep appreciation to my association with my father, my wife, my children. So you and me need to say, I'm attached to everything. And consciousness is not associated, meaning to say it's not attached to anything. Our nature, our true nature, is asanga. It's not attached to anything. It's not associated to anything. We are free, therefore, we are free and independent from anything. So, but then we take ourselves to be Chidabhasas, and then we take Chidabhas, Asanga, I will become Satsanga, attached to everything. So life is nothing but an interaction in duality with the other objects in our field of experience, and there are sentient objects and inert objects, and it's nothing but constant interaction in duality in this apparent realm. And what does that do if we are not really clear about the true nature of Mithya? We developed our huge tendencies or preference or desires and aversions, and we're going to get attached to samsara, attached to what? To what I want and what I do not want, what I like, what I do not like. So that is the problem. I will become satsanga, attached to everything in a positive way. I want it or I don't want. I don't want brings as much attachment than I want. And then when we see, I see myself attached to other people, and I say, no, you belong to me and I belong to you. And we have an agreement here, and we're going to stand stronger if we are attached to one another. But this is a mistake, because when we think that I am dependent and you are dependent, I am insecure and you are insecure, if we sum two dependence does not produce independence. If we sum two insecurities, do not bring about security. So you are mine and I am yours, and so on. Big problem, attachment. This is the problem. When I miss the cheat, my associationless nature, cheat nature, and I take the body mind moved by ignorance and desires for associations, I become attached. And when I'm attached, I suffer. And when I'm attached to this physical body, I suffer at the moment of departure as well. So I become satsanga, ahamkara, the attached ego, attached to everything. The satsanga, jiva-atma, relating to people, to gain, to get something. The very definition of bandhu is I am bound to all of everything I see around me, in one way or the other. So therefore, the yani is that which develops what? Vairagya, non-attachment, just a sense of witnessing whatsoever appears in an equanimous way, never allowing attachment, because what brings attachment is the belief that everything in Micca is true, and it's a true, valid source to resolve my mind. Everybody wants to resolve their mind. That's the main purpose. So the yani, understanding that, it somehow it does not develop bounds or attachment. The very definition of bandhu. So did you see this, the meaning of the word bandhu, the pure bandhu?
I didn't put it down because it's right in the sentence. It's boundage, a binding.
Yeah, it said here, I'm bound to all. Kutastha is free of relations, free of attachments. It means it's not subject to attachment, and it's not even subject to detachment or non-attachment. It's beyond attachment and detachment. And that aspect of my nature, I have missed. When I missed my relationless nature, I miss my Ananda nature as well. This is very nice. Because as long as I embrace my relational nature, okay? So I am the self, I operate, I become an experienced entity through the jiva, and then I relate to the world, and then I have experience. We often say that experience is the relational aspect of your being. Relational nature of consciousness is experience. And we can see it in that way. Experience is not bad. If I have this knowledge and I don't allow experience to make my true nature attached to anything, this is the full expression of Vairagya, non-attachment due to self-knowledge. So if I miss my relational nature, okay, and then I start relating, and then my Ananda goes in due time. And it reminds me again of a guy I got to know. That guy, I think I told you guys the story about, he was a very famous musician, a pop musician in England. And then he discovered he had a spiritual vasana as well. And then he went to a Buddhist center, and he started going into Nirvikalpa Samadhi like anything. And then he became a star there, you know. And then when he was at the top of his game as the enlightened one in that Buddhist center, this beautiful woman came into his life. And then he said, wow, now things are getting even better. I'm getting association, a relation with this beautiful woman. And then he said, I mean, James Wash said like that, oh, that's okay. I am the source of bliss and so on, but I'm going to add an extra bliss, you know, a Micca bliss to my Ananda bliss, to my Satya bliss. And then when you have this idea, you develop what? Association with association attachment. if you allow attachment to come in, and then there goes your Ananda. And this guy, he crashed, as I told you the story before, because the woman, after some time, did not like his personality and left him. And then his Ananda was destroyed. And he had to tell everybody in that Buddhist center that he was not enlightened as he thought, you know. I met this guy in person, and we had some good talks and satsangs around this saying in my first or second seminar with Ramji in India. Not in India, in Oregon and in Washington, in Trout Lake. Therefore, it is asangatva and anandatva, avrata, vishesha, amsa. It is of nature of no association. It is of nature of bliss, limitlessness, and avrata, vishesha, amsa. So what do you make of this combination of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words? It is of nature of no association, of bliss, and it is avrita, which is covered, vishesha, amsa. Is that correct? Therefore, why it's saying that therefore it becomes, it is asanga and then it talks about avrita, vishesha, amsa, which is the covered particular part. Yeah, so you become the jiva, the ahamkara, asangatva. It does not make much sense, this statement, huh? Lynn?
I think he's just saying that the covered particular part covers the unattachedness and the blissness of
Avrata Vishesha. Vishesha is the particular, the specific aspect of the Namarupa. It says that Avrata Vishesha Amsa. You know? And it is strange, this Vishesha Amsa, because Vishesha Amsa is the Namarupa, the superimposition. And the covered. So the Asangatva.
It's
confusing. And then it says that maybe there is a mistake there. In that place, Ahamkara and Jivatma is superimposed. And the Asanga becomes Satsanga, and Ananda becomes Dukkha, suffering. Once it is discovered, the ground is red for Adhyasta Visheshamsa. So once we find ourselves in that position, our Asanga nature goes, our Satsanga nature, apparent nature comes into play, our Ananda nature becomes suffering, and then the ground is red for superimposition, adhyasta. Superimposition of my particular part as the Namarupa, the characteristic of the Jiva. This it's going to be Jivadabhasa Ranka Jiva. Okay. So did you guys follow? It's more repetition. Sometimes it's confusing. Most probably there are some mistakes with these words, these Sanskrit words. So let's move to the 36. Unless somebody there has something to say. I want to get away from these Sanskrit parts here, of the nature of superimposition. It's beautiful, but it's tiring. There is so much. It's so loaded with these Sanskrit things, And there is, now we discover that there is mistakes in the transcription as well.
On the first line of the commentary, it is again transcribed incorrectly. It's avrita vishesha amsha. But then I think after this page, there's no more problems with the transcription.
Yeah? Okay. Good news. Okay. The verse. So we are still on the verse 35. Let's see what Swami, on the next class, when he comes back, he gives us a little bit of summary. There is always some nice angles in these summaries. So in the previous verse, Vidyaranya discussed the uncovered general part of everything, using the example of the shellhood and Brahmahood. Is that where we are? No. We move to the sloka, to verse 36 now. Now he comes the next part, right? Verse 36. In the illustration, that which is superimposed is called silver. So with the power of illusory projection, that which is superimposed on Kutastha is called I, the ego, or the sense of individuality. Now, to illustrate what happens with superimposition, taking the example of the silverness that is superimposed on shellness, so such is the power of Maya, the illusory projection, that is able to superimpose on Kutastha consciousness, the ego, the ahamkara, the I, or the sense of individuality. Yeah. So I don't know why this superimposition happens, but we have some clues. It is a certain power, it's Maya Shakti, and somehow Jiva falls for this avidya. And after all, it's not our fault, it's our construct, it's our configuration, and it's tough to be here and to realize that the world is not really what it seems. In fact, there is no world, there are no objects, there are only the 5 elements. And then if you look even deeper, there is not even the 5 elements, there is just an appearance of the 5 elements. So all this knowledge is hard. And even with the help of the scriptures, still, it's quite something. So they uncover the general part, and the uncovered particular part are over at this verse 36. Now we'll say they uncover the general part and uncovered particular part. There is no mistake in that translation, transcription. No? Okay.
Yeah, it's the uncovered general part and the covered particular part are over.
The uncovered general part and
that's one more.
And the covered particular part is over, huh?
The covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Avrita. Now he comes to the next part. The uncovered general part and the covered specific part are over. Now he's going to take what? The superimposed particular part. So before we have the uncovered the general part, the isness of something, and then we analyze the covered particular part, meaning to say the shellness was covered somehow, or the rope was covered. So now we're going to look into the phenomena called adhyasta, which is a superimposition of a vishesha, which is a particular or specific part form, okay? So in the case of the shell example, the rupiah, the silverness, was superimposed in the superimposed specific part. Likewise, the self must be connected with Kutastha, and instead of Kutastha, we join with finite Chidabhasa Rupa Jiva, which travels from loka to loka. Okay. So we have the shell, we have the appearance of silver, which is superimposed. We give it a specific part projected on what was the shell. So in the same way, the self, the Kutastha, must be connected. The self must be connected with Kutastha. Now again, he's presenting the self and the Kutastha not as the same one thing. He said that the self must be connected with Kutastha. So this is again, it gives back to me in another instance, you know, the confusion and the thing. So why to call Kutastha the self if later on you say that the self must be connected with Kutastha? The self is the only reality, is the ground, is the how it says here, is the foundational ground, it's the base, is the background, is the screen on which, a screen of consciousness. Of course, it's connected with Kutastha because Kutastha is the self, okay? But somehow, again, you know, what is this Kutastha? It is the self, but it's self appearing as an individual, but it is the self, okay? So there must be some subtle distinction. Therefore, he says that the self must be, it is connected. Why? Because it is the ground of beingness of the Kutastha. But we have the self, we have Kutastha, and instead of Kutastha, we reflected consciousness, we join with Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa Rupa Jiva. Chidabhasa, what does this Rupa go for? It means it has anything to do with that which shine? Rupa, Rupi? No.
Rupa means the form of, in the form of.
Oh, Namarupa, yeah. So,
Chidabhasa.
We join with the finite Chidabhasa form of the Jiva. And this Namarupa, the constitution of the Jiva, it travels from birth to birth, from loka to loka. So it should, not to create confusion, it should say self is the nature of Kutastha. And that's, you know, but this, at this point of the teaching, to say that there is a connection between the self and Kutastha, it's okay. It may be to illustrate that there is an apparent connection of the substratum with the Kutastha, which is consciousness appearing as the Jiva. But this consciousness appearing as the Jiva takes on its inferior nature as its true nature, as its identity. It joins the finite Namarupa called the Chidabhasa. The word used for Jiva is this first single aham, the project part. This aspect of the teaching is interesting. And I was somewhat surprised with this exposition here. The word used for Jiva is the first singular I, aham. So it is the superimposed aspect of the Jiva is I am, aham. I am, I exist. So it's the first aspect. Kutastha cannot be called aham. Self is the word for Kutastha. Now he resolves the self with Kutastha. Self is the name for Kutastha, is the word for Kutastha, and the word aham does not belong to Kutastha, does not belong to the self, does not belong to the foundational consciousness, the Adhyasthana consciousness. Okay, so now the interesting thing here, because we hear so many times that aham is consciousness appearing. Are you guys with me? Did my audio cut?
It did cut a little bit.
Okay.
So am I
Go ahead.
right in thinking that what he's doing here is discriminating between uncovered general part, covered specific part, and superimposed specific part? So it'd be Swayam Kutastha Aham, or Paramatma Jivatma Ahamkara. Does that work?
Yes. Yeah. What brought my attention here, Lynn, is that he's saying he's present the self as the nature of the Kutastha. He presents it as being connected to Kutastha. And then we have Kutastha, which is the self. Self is the foundational ground of Kutastha. But Kutastha has also its Chidabhasa Rupa nature, which is its inferior nature. This Kutastha that evidently is reflect consciousness. The reflect consciousness manifests as aham. And this aham has the option to define itself as aham brahmasmi. Okay? So there is this Kutastha, which is aham. So we have the self, and then we have Kutastha, and then we have the Chidabhasa Rupa Jiva. So what happens is that Kutastha, more often than not, identifies or joins with its finite inferior nature, and then is subject to rebirth, from loka to loka. So far, so good? Am I still cutting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah, because the rain came here and then it poured. Now it stopped, but let me give another try here. I'm going to change my provider here. I'd like to cover this piece to see if you can help me with that. Okay. What I was saying? Oh, what I was saying? Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yes.
we give a last try here to see if we can cover this paragraph. Presents the notion here, the concept that the self must be connected with Kutastha. Of course, it is the substantial, it is the original nature of Kutastha. Therefore, it must be connected. Connected is used here only to present the fact that the Kutastha connects with its inferior nature. It's the self must be disconnect because it's the nature of the Kutastha. But instead, the Kutastha will join by identifying with the Namarupa nature of the reflect consciousness, which is subject to births and deaths and traveling from loka to loka. And then he says, the word used for jiva is the aham, the first person aham. The jiva is known as I am. This aham is a superimposition on the Kutastha, okay? This aham is a superimposition, aham. But as we know, this superimposition can resolve itself by realizing aham brahmasmi. Aham is unavoidable, but it's a question of the way this aham is going to define itself. Are you still listening? Okay. And then it says here, the word used for jiva is this aham. Kutastha cannot be called aham. Kutastha cannot be called aham. The self is the word for Kutastha. Kutastha is not aham, is atma. Aham is something related to the jiva. You understand? Kutastha cannot be called I am. Self is the word we should use to Kutastha, atma. And the word aham does not belong to the adhisthana Kutastha. Okay, the true nature of Kutastha should not be referred as aham. Aham does not belong to adhisthana Kutastha, which is the substratum or the foundational ground of conscious existence. But the adhyasta jiva chidabhasa is going to be superimposed in the adhyasta as the superimposed jiva. So the I am, the I, the aham, it refers to what? To the adhyasta jiva chidabhasa, which is a superimposition on the adhisthana, which is the true nature and of the Kutastha, which is Atma, self, and not aham. So when I found this teaching here, I found it different because we are used to see the teachings in which aham is resolved in Brahman as aham brahmasmi. There are several passages that say, I am that I am. I am that I am. As we know that Brahman can never say aham, because Brahman is the self. But Brahman manifests itself as aham. And here the teachings say that aham belongs to the Kutastha. But aham does not belong to the Kutastha, it belongs to ahankara. What belongs to the Kutastha, okay, is Atma, self, okay? So we're going to carry on next week because it's the first time that I see this subtle distinction present, in respect to our true nature, which is not aham. And therefore, aham can be resolved by recognize that aham is Brahman, aham brahmasmi. But aham, it remains as aham, because we cannot live in this world without referring ourselves as I and the others as he, she, it, and so on, in duality. So we stop here. We carry on next week from this paragraph to see if we understand better why Vidyaranya is presenting this radical teaching that says, no, what you are is not aham, and forget about aham brahmasmi. You are Brahman, but don't say aham, because aham is no good for you. Okie dokie. Okay, Mark?
Yeah, okay, Alindo. Just thinking it all over. Yeah.
Yeah, please
Good.
do some work. Do some work and try to help me. Do some nididhyasana. It is a subtle, profound statement. And
Okay.
then we can work together next Monday. Okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. Namaste. We meet again soon.